G'day there. We're going to have a look at what JSON is, so by the end of this you'll get an understanding of what it is, where it gets used, and all the stuff inside those curly brackets and all those little symbols in there. What does that all mean? And we'll also go through some examples in the latter half of this of how to use it inside JavaScript. If you're a developer and want to have a play, then stick around for that. But first up, we're going to look at what is JSON. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. And what that is a subset of the JavaScript programming language, and we're able to take, if you get given a file that's a JSON format and there's data inside, you can take that and assign it to a variable inside JavaScript, and if it's valid, it'll work. JSON's pretty cool in that you can put any combination of data that you want inside of it. You can have multiple sets of data, so you could have an array of data, so you could have a list of people or a list of businesses or any set of data, or you could have multiple sets of data. So at the top level you have, say, data about cars, and then inside there you have arrays of all the different types of cars, and below that car array you have buildings, and you have a list of all the buildings. It's really convenient to structure data, and it's easy for us to look at it and make sense of it. It's also easy for computers to do that as well. So there are a couple of other types of formats that exist for this. So XML was very popular, RSS was as well, but in my opinion JSON is probably the nicest one to use. So let's check out some examples. We'll have a look at a simple data set. Let's have a look at an array. Now let's have a look at a more complex data set. Great. Now we're going to go through some code, so let's get coding. Alright, so let's have a look at some JSON in code. We're going to get a JSON file and play with it in there. And also we're going to just have a simple HTML file. And if you don't know, if you do the exclamation point and accept that, it'll pre-populate a bunch of stuff in there for you on Visual Studio. Call this JSON simple demo. Alright, we're not going to use that one just yet. We're just going to go in here and write up some JSON. We're going to do just a simple bit of person's information. So first we've got the name of the type of the data that we're going to be putting in. So put the name in as mine. Next one, and so we can have all kinds of data in here. JSON doesn't really care what kind of data you put in. If you're a bit cagey about your date of birth, you can enter a null value, and that's perfectly acceptable. So here we just need to put those quotes around it. You can see I'm sticking in a boolean as well. And it's another one we can do, age. So let's say that I'm 15. Alright, so this is a nice simple example. It's just some straightforward data. If you make an API call and get a user's personal information, you might get something like this back. And we'll copy it, and we're just going to create the script tag. We'll make a variable called JSON demo, and we'll assign that to that. there we've got that, and we'll just print it to the console. Okay, so we just open that up and see what it spits out for us. Which is nice. We can see we've got all that data that we put in there. And it's an object. So now we'll do our next example of JSON. And inside here, I'm going to use the array bracket. Just close that. And I'm going to stick this in here. And we'll just do two people's data. Copy that and do a second person. So we'll do a John Smith, date of birth, and set that this time. Year 2000, education, yeah. They get educated, and they're like 22, 21. This time we'll output this one. Bring that up. Alright, you can see we've got both objects there. So this is nice. If you were to make an API call, you just resize all this. If you were to make an API call and you got something like that back, and you can just dump it into this variable or use it as you get it, it'll be really convenient. Just make that a bit bigger. It'll be really convenient and help you get through the data and utilize it much quicker. And so the last one we're going to put in here, the example that we're going to put for this, is to show that you can have arrays within these objects. So because this one's got education true, I'm going to create some educational items for it. And in here have the school, like high school. This is school level. And put in year finished or you graduated. So year 2020, so it kind of makes sense. And after that, we're going to put another entry in. So I'm going to do that, just try to make it a bit more readable. So this time the school level, the education level is university, and we're going to say they haven't graduated yet. Alright. So we look inside here, and this first item, you can see that data again. When we come to this second one, as we look at it, you can see we've got these educational items and the arrays within it. And how nice is that? We can have nested data defined in here, and JSON just loves it. It's really, really useful. And being able to kind of pass data around like that, it's self-defining, so you don't have to know anything about it beforehand. You can just get it and start processing it, which is really cool. And then if you get something back from the server, it's not going to come in as an object like this, it'll just be a string. So let's look at how you'd handle that. Right, so now let's change this to be a string, and that way we simulate what we get from a API request if it comes in, and we need to convert this into JSON. So let's do that down here. Pass that in there and see what it does. So we can see when we pass the text we get from a server response, then we can convert that into an object. Whereas if we just display that, now we'll get just the text output up above, and we can't do much with that until we get it into this object format, and then we're able to reference things directly. So with this one we could just output the age if we wanted, or the last name. Alright, and that's it. Hope that you liked the video and that at the end of this you feel as though you've learned more about what JavaScript object notation is, where it's useful, and if you do come across it, you'll be able to look at it and make sense of it. Alright, catch you next time.